Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the New Hampshire Business Show. My name is Chris Pastrana, and we're here today with Kelly Boyer. How's it going?
Good.
Okay, and Kelly is the owner of Whiskey Barrel Design Company, which is really cool, and they're out of Goffstown, I'm pretty sure.
Yes, yeah, Goffstown.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about it.
Sure.
How did you get started in this?
Well, thanks for having me, first of all.
No problem.
So I have always just kind of done specialized signs and hand lettering and things like that, which is what my business is. So I make wood signs and do a lot of like glass work, so designing things for people on glass. And I've kind of always really liked doing hand lettering and always made stuff as gifts for people. And last year, my wife and I had 10 weddings to go to. And so I was like, I really just want to make like meaningful, fun things for people instead of just giving everybody money. I mean, we gave people money too, but you know, that just gets old after a little while.
Yeah.
So I bought a vinyl machine and taught myself how to do all the creative software and things like that, which normally I'd just done by hand. And kind of fell in love with it and started making gifts for people. And then they started asking me to make gifts for other people that they knew. And it kind of just snowballed. Like my wife calls it my accidental business because the intention was never to kind of make stuff, but it just sort of happened, and kind of fell in love with it. And now I do it all the time. So.
Which is really good because you are pretty new, right?
Yeah, within the past year.
Okay, cool. Because when I was looking you up, like even your Facebook page starts in like October, and I was like, okay, so they're a pretty new company.
Yeah.
And I really like that. You just kind of grew out of a passion.
Yeah.
That's really cool. And I think that makes the best business.
Yeah, it totally did. And it's just sort of, like I said, sort of snowballed into, like, I wish I had taken pictures of stuff I did back when I started doing it. But then when I realized that there was kind of like nobody else doing stuff exactly like mine, or if they were, you know, it's on Etsy and you can get anything on Etsy. But I try really, really hard to make my stuff pretty inexpensive, because I want people to see it and be like, that would be really cool. I'd like to have that in my house or give that to somebody and not really have to consider the cost of it. So I try really hard to keep my prices super low. And then I work really closely with whoever's designing whatever they want. I have probably 70% of my business is custom orders. So I work really closely with clients and kind of make them whatever they want. I mean, I haven't come across anything I haven't been able to do yet.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool. But yeah, it's just totally snowballed into like, it's crazy.
So how much of your life does this take up? Because I know you kind of mentioned before that you work. So you work and then you do this on the side. So does it bleed over a lot? Does it just take up a lot of time?
Yeah, I have a lot of extracurriculars. So yeah, my wife keeps telling me not to add on anything else, but we also volunteer with a really cool nonprofit called Girls at Work, and we teach women and girls how to use power tools and build things, which is really awesome. So and I'm involved in town politics, and so finding time to do this kind of stuff. Some nights I'm up working till 1 or 2 a.m. on a school night, which can be kind of difficult, but I'm lucky I haven't had to turn anybody away yet, but I definitely take on sometimes more than I should, just to kind of like make everybody happy, because I love it and I want to share it with people, and I really love seeing people get really, really excited about stuff. So I have a really hard time saying no. So a lot of time is the answer to that question.
I think we have something in common where my wife is constantly telling me to stop doing things too. Yeah. So I think we understand each other. She's like, would you stop? Just stop for a minute, pick something, and go with that. And I'm like, oh, fine, you know. So you mentioned you kind of do a lot of wood stuff. You do some glass things. And I was looking around. You had some really cool products. So kind of go over like some of the things you do, because I know you do a lot of, you know, little sayings here and there. But do you have anything like that you really like, or a good variety of stuff?
So the general like concept of stuff that I do, it all started with wood signs. Like I just wanted to make a last name sign for somebody for their wedding, like something they could keep forever and like looked really cool. And that's kind of been my platform is wood signs. So all kinds of wood, and I pretty much cut them to any size anybody can think of, or any design somebody can think of. And then I just started hand painting, which is kind of like where my roots came from and how I transitioned into doing this with my design programs and my vinyl cutting and all of that. So, yeah, pretty much just different kinds of like funny sayings or like I have a sign that says wash your hands, you filthy animal, and one that says wash your hands, no, seriously, because I work in a hospital and I have germ OCD, so that kind of transitions into making fun of that. But like those things are two of my biggest sellers. So I think it's just kind of like the funny stuff that people really like. And then I do, like I said, mostly custom work. So somebody will come to me and say like, hey, I want something for a gift for so-and-so, and this is what they like. And so usually it's left to my creative devices. So I usually come up with like 5 or 6 different options for people, whether it be font or pictures, and I put everything together and design it and then send it to them, and then I work with them to kind of like pull pieces here and there. But the thing that I've been really excited about lately that I just started doing is I learned how to trace handwriting, which is amazing. So basically I can take any kind of handwriting that someone's given to me from a loved one or whomever, and I can trace it and replicate that on vinyl and then put it on something for them. So I've primarily been doing that in glass frames. So I had just a lady recently whose husband passed away, and she had a really cool story that went along with it, and I was able to duplicate his handwriting into something that she could hang on her wall so she could see it every day. So that kind of stuff is just like, it gets me, because it's just something so cool that like you can't really get that anywhere, and for people to even ask me to do that seems like such a privilege to like give them part of their loved one, you know, in this thing that I love doing. It's just a really cool kind of way to tie it all together. So that's something that I've really loved doing lately, and I think probably the coolest thing that I get to do.
Yeah, I saw those, and those were really fantastic. I love the idea behind it. Those, the baby ones.
Yeah.
Because I actually realized, you know, my 4th one's coming, and I'm like, so I'm gonna have to fill this wall with a bunch of your stuff eventually, which I think is really awesome, to be honest. What was I gonna say? So you kind of mentioned you started doing this only about a year ago. Mm-hmm. Have you done anything like this beforehand, or was it just a brand new thing that you picked up for that?
I've always been artsy and really loved hand lettering, and like I said, I used to make like gifts for people when I was younger, when I couldn't afford to buy presents. So I made some Christmas gifts last year for people and did hand lettering, which takes a really long time unless you're really good at it, which I'm not. So that kind of prompted me to kind of explore vinyl and vinyl cutting and the programs that go along with it, and decided that I could probably figure it out, and I'm thankful that I did. YouTube is a great thing. But so I learned how to do all of it myself, and then just kind of expanded from there. So yeah, I have a little bit of background, but not quite all of it.
A lot of background in the creative side of things, which I think is where I have issues. So because I went down here, like a lot of your wood things, you have the really cool little sayings on them, and coming up with those sayings would be where I'd be like, I have no idea what to do. Yeah. So do you have issues with that, or where do you get your inspiration for a lot of this stuff?
Sometimes people ask me to make things that they see in Hobby Lobby, like similar, you know, just kind of general run-of-the-mill type of saying. So I have to create stuff that's kind of generic, if you will. But, you know, if that's what somebody wants, that's great. And then other times I just come up with stuff based on different inspirations or something like that. Like I really like a lot of pop culture stuff, so I did like some Stranger Things, some Star Wars, some Walking Dead, so, you know, like Game of Thrones. I like another one of my biggest sellers is the I Drink and I Know Things. I don't know if you watch Game of Thrones, but so like that kind of stuff for me is funny, and I like when people get it, because sometimes people don't get it, which is equally as funny to me. So so it's kind of an ongoing thing, but most of the time it's people coming to me asking me for specific things other than my like core group of like 60 things that I came up with on my own.
I guess just from a business side, because I know generic stuff probably sells. It's easier. You can just mass produce those types of things. Yeah. Do you have? I guess you just have more fun with the custom stuff. I was going to phrase that as a question, but
no. I mean, I like doing both of it. Honestly, because just the process of it is the part that I really love. So it's obviously better when you can get excited about what you're doing. But I think for me, all of it's kind of a challenge since I'm still really learning and kind of growing. And I get psyched about the fact that I've gotten better at it. And I can do like probably 20 standard size pieces, which are like 9x12s, in the time that it used to take me to do one. So like that's really cool. But yeah, I love meeting all the different people and hearing all the stories behind their ideas and getting to come up with something. And then when people send me pictures after of the gifts that they've given or where it's hung up in their house or something like that, like that's really cool because I got to help them do that.
Yeah.
And when they're like really pumped about something, that makes me really happy. So a lot of my additional business is from referrals, so word of mouth and people just kind of being awesome and sharing their stuff and other people wanting it too. So like those birth frames that you were talking about, I can't make them fast enough. People just love them.
They look really cool.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm probably going to have to order 4 of them, just so you know.
Yeah.
As the 4th one comes. So I was poking around. Do you guys have a website?
No, just Facebook.
So you're running everything just off Facebook?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. How does that work? Because I know Facebook has some business stuff, but it's a lot of, just direct messaging people, then kind of figuring it out from there. Is that pretty much it?
Yeah, so far. To be honest, like all of this has kind of been a surprise for me. Like I said, like I never started doing this with the intention of having a business. It was more for just fun, for personal use, and then it kind of exploded. So I'm feeling along that just as much as I am my process and everything else. So it's truly been kind of a from the ground startup sort of thing. So yeah, there's definitely lots of great things about doing that. I've explored different things like selling through Amazon or Etsy or things like that. But part of me doesn't want to lose that direct contact that I have with my customers now that I really enjoy.
Yeah.
So I'm still kind of debating like what's next.
Yeah.
And because I am growing so rapidly, it's kind of hard to gauge like what the best move will be. So all of it has kind of been like trial and error, learning as I go and trying to figure it out.
Yeah. Gotta guess next door apparently. I had something else you were gonna say there. I'll jump to something else. Sure. So this is a fun one. Does your wife let you hang this stuff up around the house? Or she just gets so tired of it, she's like, no.
No, actually, so my wife is a saint, and she totally supports everything that I do and, like, helps lug. I built this really cool pallet wall to take to, like, shows, which I never thought I would be doing. But I have this really cool pallet wall that I can hang everything on, and it folds, so it's pretty easy to transport. But she'll, like, come help me set up and sometimes spends the day, and not that that's ever what she wants to do on her Saturday, but she does it to help support me. And she'll if I'm really stressed out about a lot of orders, she'll go down in the garage with me in my workshop and cut up a bunch of wood or help me stain or sand or whatever I need to do. So she's very supportive on that end. I don't think we actually have anything in our house that I've made. I'm not kidding. Like, I think there's just so much of it all the time that I've actually never made anything like specifically for us. Yeah. So maybe when I have downtime, that'll happen. But yeah, I mean, actually, there are a couple things that I made like a long time ago, but nothing since I've sort of started finding my style and doing that kind of stuff. So I don't think she'd be opposed to it, but as
long as it looks good, right?
Yeah.
So, because I like that, because a lot of people have issues with their spouses not being into their dream or into their goal, and it's good to see that that's there. Yeah. Because that helps.
Yeah. Well, my wife and I played internationally competitive roller derby together.
Oh, that's cool.
for a lot of years, so we're pretty in tune with like supporting each other, and we were teammates first, so we kind of always joked that we're such good teammates because we were teammates first. So yeah, no, she's on board, sometimes rolling her eyes, but always supportive, which is super important. So
that's good. That's good. So you kind of mentioned it's all happening pretty quick, and you guys are growing and you're doing well. And, do you want to grow? I guess that's a good question, because some businesses, they like to stay small. Some want to grow, but either don't know how to, or you kind of lose a little bit of that personal touch like you were talking about? Yeah. Do you kind of want to keep it on a small local level, or do you want to grow it to be something awesome?
Yeah. I mean, I guess it's a kind of a combination of all of those questions.
Yeah.
And I think because I didn't set out with a plan or a goal or a desire to like, you know, have a crazy large business or anything like that. I've kind of just been going with the flow and letting it happen organically. So like I said, part of me doesn't know if I want to go to that next phase of things, or like, do I even want to spend the money to get a website, or like, you know, like kind of do all that stuff. In a bigger sense, the answer to your question would be yes, because I would love to do it full time and just like have that be my job. That would be awesome. Mm-hmm. But, you know, you kind of have to figure out, you have to have a much larger plan, and I'm not really at that point to even know if it's feasible. But maybe somewhere down the line that could happen. But, I mean, really at this point I should just start paying my wife. But I think like getting an actual employee, you know, at some point or something like that, I could expand a bit more and do a lot more. But yeah, no, right now I'm just riding on like Red Bull and good vibes pretty much, like just getting through it.
It's funny because I had a gentleman in here Friday, and very similar situation. Built this from something he just started doing to help support like his old business, and now it's becoming this big thing. And he's like, "Oh man, this is going pretty quick," you know. And they're kind of in the same spot. Like, do I expand? What do I do? And I like seeing that because I sit down with a lot of businesses. Yeah. Sometimes they're huge, you know, like hundreds of employees or whatever, and I really like the small ones too because the stories are interesting. Yeah. And I like seeing the growth and the potential there, and like what do they decide to do? Like 2 years from now, it could be like, "Hey, Kelly, how's it going?" And you're like, "Oh man, I'm a millionaire." Who knows?
That'd be great, but no, it's really insane. Like I say all the time, like what? Like how did this even? I mean, it's cool enough that people want to buy something that I make and something that I really, really like doing, but I have not put a ton of effort into like marketing and things like that. And I do have a business background. So that's something in any normal circumstance I would have, you know, written out a marketing plan, written out a business plan, written out like, you know, taken all the appropriate steps to really make sure my foundation was good. But in this situation, it's just kind of taken off so quickly that I like haven't even caught up from the paint fumes enough to like make you know, kind of a cohesive plan on what's even going on. So it really is just like an accident, but a really cool one at that, which I'm really happy about. So yeah, no, this next like couple months is definitely going to be more about figuring out like what I'm doing, honing in on my like branding, which I've kind of done. So all of it's just kind of been sidetracked by the amount of work that I've got to do, which I love, and I'm definitely not mad about it. But some of the pre-steps I definitely need to focus on a little bit. So yeah, that's exactly.
Like I was saying, I like that. I meet a lot of businesses, and a lot of times I just get asked. You know, I'm not a consultant. I try not to be in that position to teach people because it's boring. But one of the things I ask is, where do I start? And I'm like, well, can you sell it? Right. So you can. And that's like the number one part of a business. Everyone's like, oh, I need a website, I need this, and I need this. And I'm like, can you sell what you're trying to do? Right. And you can. And it's a phenomenal product, and I really like it. And that's why I asked you to come on the show.
Thank you.
So, complete hardball right here. So what type of, getting to the process a little bit, like you get the order, you do all this stuff. You were talking about you have a in-home workshop, I take it. Yeah. Like what type of wood do you use? Like where do you get it? Like there's a whole bunch of questions here.
Yeah. Like how the process is. I'm very lucky that we have a huge space that we're able to work in, that I'm able to work in. I have what I'd like to call the wood room, which is just stock of wood that I've either people have given to me, that I bought, that, you know, just scraps of, we live in an 1860s farmhouse. Okay. So we've remodeled most everything. So I've sold people projects of reclaimed wood from my house, from barns that I know of people who have taken down. So it's kind of just a combination of stuff that I have. If I can find like really cool old wood, sometimes I'll go searching for a piece for somebody if they want something really rustic and old and reclaimed. Sometimes I have to buy it. So it kind of just depends. I try to steer people in that direction if it's something that I have on hand. But if it's something really cool that somebody's like really wants, I'll go out of my way to try to find that. So pretty much, yeah, somebody comes to me and says they have an idea, and I usually have to kind of gear the questions of like, what size do you want? What kind of wood do you want? What kind of stain do you want? And most of the time they don't know the answer to those questions. So I have to kind of walk them through figuring that out. So like, where are you going to put it? What size space is it? You know, is it going over a door? What color are the walls around where you'd like to put the piece? So kind of just walking them through the whole thing to really figure out like even what our base is. And then from there I have to either cut and sand and stain or paint, and kind of prep the wood for everything. And then from a design aspect, I work with the client to figure out exactly what they want, which sometimes it's just a very broad description of an idea that they have. Sometimes it's very, very detailed. And so I have to work with the person to try to figure out, sometimes pull out of them exactly what they're looking for, or show them something maybe they didn't think of. So I have, for example, I had a client who she has a wall in her house of a bunch of signs of places that her and her husband had been that mean a lot to them.
Yeah.
And that's all the background that I got. So she asked me for a specific town, and so I looked up the name of the town and figured out the year it was established, the coordinates, the slogan for the town, and kind of went back to her and I said, here are a bunch of other options. Do you want me to add any of this stuff? And she kind of explained then that it's literally just the words on her wall, but in most instances somebody would be like, oh, I didn't think about that, the coordinates, or, you know, the year that it was established, or the slogan. So I try to think of things that maybe people didn't even realize that they wanted that make it extra cool, because I try to think of, if I were going to make this for myself, what would I want it to look like? Or like if I was making this for my brother, or, you know, my sister-in-law, like what would I want that to be? So I sometimes have to dig a little bit and get a little creative with it. And even things just like font, like I'll put out 6 or 7 different kinds and try to help them figure out, you know, when they say I want bold font. Well, that's not very descriptive, and I have thousands of fonts to choose from. So that process usually takes a little bit. Sometimes it's 10 to 40 minutes. Sometimes it's a couple days of back and forth trying to figure it out. And I take pictures throughout the process and send it to the clients just to make sure that before I go any further that they're happy with it. Most of the stuff I do is, I wouldn't be upset if somebody was like, that's not what I wanted, and I can fix it. Or change something or something like that. But usually from start to finish, I get things out within a week, depending on what it is. If it's really big, sometimes it takes me a little bit longer. But for the most part, I get really excited about stuff, and I'm like, this is so cool, I can't wait to do this. And I just kind of whip it out pretty quickly. So my turnaround time has been good. So that's something I don't want to lose, is being able to get stuff out really fast for people. So that's like the general
that's pretty good.
Process.
It's a good process. Yeah. So it's almost like you're consulting with them too. Kind of back to what you had said earlier, is you're kind of helping them through the process. So it's not like, here, this is what you want, because you mentioned there's different types of wood. There's a bunch of things you can actually put into this to fit their house. Yeah,
definitely. And sometimes I have to work with people if they have something really stuck in their head that they really, really want, that is just either like an unnecessary amount of work for me, or, you know, if they want wood with like really thick grain that adds hours and hours, sometimes days, to my process. So if they're like, this is what I want, and I show them a couple different options of things like, have you thought about this, or what about this? Most of the time they end up wanting those other things anyways, which is great. So I saved myself trouble. I worked through with them to help them find what they actually wanted, and at the end of the day, it makes the process so much more cohesive when you can give people options. So I give, like, 30 different stain colors and paint colors and font colors and vinyl colors. I mean, it's just endless. So I try to help and kind of group together different things and give that to them, instead of just being like, here, pick whatever you want, because that's not helpful.
This is actually a similar problem, I think, I would see for like, what do you call them? Like a tattoo person, because they're like, we know what we want. Like, do you? Right. Do you really want that?
Exactly, and like a tattoo. Yeah.
You have to be able to work through them with that process. So.
Yeah, it's super similar actually. Like, even people will be like, okay, I want it this big, and you're like, well, I can't actively like paint that small. So, for it to look good, you're looking at like 3 or 4 inches. And so, it's very similar to a kind of a tattoo consultation of just like cool. mapping it out and figuring out what works. And yeah, that's a good analogy.
That's awesome. You should get with I don't know if you could even use this type of wood, but if there's ever a fire, just be like, when they tear down a house, just be like, I want all of that.
Yeah.
That would be that might be a good place to go.
Yeah.
Make a relationship with the fire department.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'll use anything. I try to reclaim a lot of stuff. I really like repurposing things. And I found that people really like when I can repurpose stuff, and they like the story behind the wood. If I know what it is, sometimes I just get stacks of stuff. Sometimes people just donate stuff to me, and sometimes I go buy it. So I try to stay away from buying it as much as I can.
Yeah.
Because I really like to reuse and recycle stuff. But
it's also a good business decision.
Yeah.
Why pay for it if you can get it for free?
Right.
I had a really funny idea. Like, if someone's house burns down, you should like take all their wood and then sell them something from their old house. I figured that'd be
well, that would be the like meaningfulness of
this is your old house.
Yeah.
Oh, that's ridiculous. I don't know why I came up with that idea.
I would do it though. I would totally paint that if you
want this?
It.
I'll give you a discount, $50. But oh man, that's ridiculous. I'm awful. Yes, that was like a lot of the questions I had, which is good. We're rolling up at around 30 minutes here.
Cool.
So, how do people get a hold of you if they want to buy something?
Right now it's just through my Facebook, which is Whiskey Barrel Design Co. And it's all done through that. Usually people will either comment on something they really like or direct message me, and then I just reach out to them. Some people prefer to talk over the phone or text or email, so I'll kind of communicate with them any way they want. But for now, it's just through my Facebook.
Okay, awesome. So thank you so much. Do you mind, while I'm putting this all together later on, I'm going to take some of your pictures and just throw them in while we're talking, if that's cool?
Definitely.
Because then at least while I'm talking, they can see what I'm talking about, what you're talking about. Cool, so I'll do that for you, and that'll be awesome. So, boop, we flipped that over. So thank you guys so much for watching today. That was fun. And if you need anything from Kelly, reach out. If you need anything from me, I'm always here. Keep being awesome.